And so he gave us a call, and we got in a bus, and we drove ourselves down to Mar-a-Lago, and we had dinner in the dining room. And Mr. Trump walks in, and they had given us a prep saying, you know what, he's a germphobe. Don't shake his hand. Don't get crazy. And so one of our guys stood up, and this room, the chair alone was probably worth $50,000.
Wow.
He stands up, and the backs of his calves pushed the chair over and broke the back of the chair.
Wow.
And
50 grand, huh?
and then he immediately goes over and says, "Mr. Trump, it's nice to meet you," and shakes his hand.
That's great.
And I was worried about my kitchen set.
Ahoy! This is your captain speaking, Greg Michael of Pinnacle Marine Group, Marine Surveyors, and welcome aboard the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm joined by Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, marine mechanic and shipwright. And aboard this vessel, we talk everything about boats. The build, the mechanics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We go where the seas take us. The topics will be endless. Electronics, marinas, restaurants, vacations, cruising and fishing. Our show includes live callers with real questions. Let's fare these waters together. Call 772-773-2600 every Tuesday between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Ahoy, and welcome to the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm your host, Captain Greg Michael, Marine Surveyor, and sitting next to me is our beloved Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright. And if you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. So, some quick introductions. Glenn, say hi.
Hey.
How you doing? And today we have Chris Dzadovsky. He's the County Commissioner for St. Lucie County, Florida, District 1. Right, Chris?
That's right.
Okay, say hi to everybody.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Good. Okay, so we do have some current events, so we do have to bring it up. The listeners definitely like that, but Joe Biden is out of the presidential race. I'm kind of shocked. Kamala Harris is now, I see, is going to be the nominee. She's got the delegates. So any comments?
Well, it was certainly a surprise. And having known and met Joe Biden in the years past, it was interesting that he was saying he was going to stay in until the end. And given what we saw as the avalanche of folks not sure what to do, I think it was a very patriotic move on his part to put the country first, understanding and he recognized, I'm sure, that he is slowing down. And just watching him leave the airplane and trying to navigate the stairs was hard to watch. And but it's a strange political time in our history, and you just never know what's going to happen. So this was interesting, and we'll see how it unfolds in the next 104 days.
You know, Republican and Democrat, you gotta feel bad for the guy as a human being.
Well, I don't believe in the two-party system, but it was almost elder abuse. It's like, oh, this is going to be the person until they were going to put him there until everybody said no. So the people that said that he was good to run the country, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
what's going on, man?
So, like I say, if you humanize it, you got to almost feel bad for the person. Forget about the politics. Forget about the parties. You feel bad for the person who says, listen, we're going to use you in this way, even though we know you're not well. And that, to me, is the crime.
Well, there have been presidents in the past that have certainly been in more difficult scenarios, mentally, physically, and otherwise. And so the fact that he has 50 years experience and his international relations and what he's been able to accomplish, even at an extended age of 81 or 82, is pretty impressive. And I can tell you that as a county commissioner, I think I have a lot to do every single day. And I have meetings and phone calls and time frames that I have to be here, there, just like coming to the show today. I was way behind. And the fact is that if you're 81 years of age and you can go and do the G7 summit and travel to 11 countries to fly back home and then be part of a debate and be functional to what level he was, understandably, didn't do very well. But at 81, I can tell you that at 63, I have a tough schedule, and I don't know that I could keep up with that type of schedule that he has.
Yeah, you look good for 63.
But what I'm saying is
I'm only 40, but I thought
what I'm just trying to say is you have the energy, the vigor. You could do the job at 63. Because I don't believe in the whole, I don't care, any of that. I'm just saying, I'm not saying Democrat, Republican. He was just so, it was just like, why? Why don't we have somebody in there that still thinking everybody, doing it,
well,
some life to him,
Let's face it, the figurehead, that which is the president and vice president, are surrounded with hundreds, if not thousands, of people that manage the day-to-day operations. His final word is to give directions as to how to create policy, move things forward. And his relationships internationally have been incredibly important for the success of this government for these 3.5 years. And so, having spent time under Obama, and again, love him, hate him, whatever the case may be, the fact is that the country was well respected then, and he had a lot of history, and he did a lot of things as vice president that really gave him a pathway to be even more successful as president, even in his elder state.
So, the word I have to say on this is I'm kind of glad it went this way. I don't think he was up for the task seeing him lately, right? Mm-hmm. So the past, everything he's done in the past, whether you respect him or don't respect him, that's your opinion. But I think it was good for the country for him to say, hey, listen, I'm just not up to it.
Well, I can tell you that just watching the excitement and what I've seen and what I've been hearing about the amount of money raised, the number of volunteers that have stepped up, I think that the Trump campaign might be a little taken back as to what's unfolding. I don't think they were prepared for it. I think that they thought that when Joe Biden says, I'm in it to the end, that they believed him.
Right.
And so the whole rhetoric, the whole conference that was just done, that was kind of throwaway work, really, if you think about that.
Look at the money! Look at the money she raised in a day. That was like mind-boggling. It's like, whoa! Whoa.
Well, we're gonna certainly see how it plays out, and what Kamala, what task she's really up to. I hope they debate, and I hope that'll show both sides. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that'll be a good contest. So. There goes Glenn's beers.
This is the official end of the political hour.
All right, so we're done with politics.
Let's not go down the rabbit hole.
We're done with the politics.
We're done with the boats.
All right. Let's get on a lighter note, right? So at every show, I tell a joke.
I was trying to miss that part of the show.
You didn't tell you a joke yet?
Well, Glenn always when I say I'm telling a joke, Glenn looks at me with this like, "Come on, really?" So, all right, I'm going to tell a naughty joke, all right? So, here we go. You guys drink, I'll tell jokes. No, and the drunker you get, the better off I am, right?
No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Okay. All right, so here's the naughty joke. A doctor, a dentist, and a politician were in a boat together when a wave came along and washed them both all of them overboard. Unable to get back in the boat, they decided 2 would hold on to the boat and stay with the boat, and the 3rd would swim to shore for help. They noticed that there were hundreds of sharks between them and the land. Without a word, the politician took off. As he swam, the sharks moved aside. The dentist yelled, "It's a miracle!" The doctor said, "No, that's professional courtesy."
Oh, man. That's cruel. It's actually a lawyer joke.
It's a lawyer joke.
You start trouble here.
I saw that one coming a mile away.
Where's the video? I would have come on. Fight. Let's go. Come on, let's do it.
So I do have to confess, I changed lawyer to politician just for you, Chris.
Hey, I'm okay about it. My boat's called Shark Teaser, just so you know.
Okay, good. So, all right. Let's get into it. First, let me just take a second to remind everybody we will have a call-in segment of the show. So the number to call in again is 772-773-2600. So let's talk to the commissioner about what's going on in St. Lucie County. So, Chris, let's start at the beginning. Where are you originally from? Let's get a little bit of your resume.
Sure. I spent, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I spent 25 years with U.S. Airways as a flight attendant safety professional, and I was also a lobbyist for the flight attendant union and negotiated their contracts up until about 2001.
Yeah.
And then I was hurt as a volunteer firefighter and had to go back to school and retrain because I couldn't go back to flying. So at that time, I had owned a dive resort in the Keys, and I was flying back and forth between Key Largo and Pittsburgh. And then when I got hurt, I sold the business and moved back to Pittsburgh full time. And then when the company said that I couldn't come back to flying, I moved then to Fort Pierce because that's where I used to stay whenever I was marketing to divers up to Jacksonville and back. And I found Fort Pierce, and I found the diving and the fishing excellent. And I thought, well, if I was ever going to retire somewhere, this would be the place. So after I sold the dive shop and moved back to Pittsburgh, I turned around and came back to Fort Pierce in 2003 and went back to school. And as part of that, I really got involved in nonprofits in the community. The college wanted us to take our papers and actually make them work in our community with nonprofits, crime safety, things like that. And so my papers were turning into really good works and turning failing nonprofits into profitable ones. And so people were saying, you need to run for mayor. And I was writing a paper one time at the original Tiki. I was stealing their Wi-Fi back then. Okay. And I got my materials at the library down there in Melody Square. And we had this group of 24 people, 12 couples. And we used to call them the chairman of the board. And so they would get there at 3 o'clock and they would do happy hour until 6:30. So they always had a few in them by the time I was
right.
And they're like, you need to run for mayor. And I said, oh, sure, get me 300 signatures and I'll do it. And they came back 48 hours later and I had 400 signatures.
Wow.
And I said, I was only kidding. And and so I was just going to school, so I didn't really have anything to do except for get my degrees. And I said, okay, well, I'll do it. And turned around, I lost miserably, and I got a phone call from a then sitting city commissioner and said, you need to run for county. County is going to have an open seat. You need to run for that. And I got my team together. I said, what do you think? They said, well, you've already spent $13,000 on a campaign. You have name recognition. People recognized you. And the Republicans and Democrats were asking me to run for state office, which I didn't have enough knowledge to actually take that position or even try. And so we put a campaign together. We ran at 11 o'clock on the evening of the general election, or the primary. I was down by 600 votes. A half hour later, I won.
Wow.
So it was kind of an interesting thing. And everything that's old is new again. Last election on the primary, I won by 120 votes.
Wow.
with multiple recounts. And then in the general, I only won by 680. So it'll give you an idea how close the elections are. Yeah. And the interesting part is I had such a bipartisan group of folks voting for me. Yeah. So if you're a Republican, Independent, or a Democrat, apparently I'm the guy. I'm the guy for you. So that's kind of how I got here.
So do you consider yourself a moderate?
Absolutely.
You do. Okay.
There was a time when there was a term called Blue Dog Democrat, meaning I'm a fiscally.
So you would play golf with Trump?
I actually had dinner with Trump. Not
really.
But you got to remember something. He's a Floridian Democrat, not a New York Democrat. Okay, excellent. Why do you think I threw my business and let's not?
Well, I was a Pittsburgh. So anyway, we had
That's a tough town.
Fort Pierce Exchange Club. The Exchange Club used to raise money for Castle. Castle was we worked for the prevention of child abuse, and so one of our members is good friends with Donald. He actually worked for him in aviation circles. And so he gave us a call, and we got in a bus, and we drove ourselves down to Mar-a-Lago, and we had dinner in the dining room. And Mr. Trump walks in, and they had given us a prep, said, you know what, he's a germphobe. Don't shake his hand. Don't get crazy. And so one of our guys stood up, and this room, the chair alone was probably worth $50,000.
Wow.
He stands up, and the backs of his calves pushed the chair over and broke the back of the chair.
Wow.
And $50,000, huh?
and then he immediately goes over and says, Mr. Trump, it's nice to meet you, and shakes his hand.
That's great.
And I was worried about my kitchen set.
So you being a moderate, Trump didn't turn you off, I guess.
No, and he was not a part of this genre at the time.
Right.
This was back, I'm going to say 2009, 10-ish.
Right.
He was just really ramping up with The Apprentice and moving into the idea of getting into politics.
I'm just curious, and again, non-political. Was he a nice guy?
He's a nice guy. Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
And a good host.
Well, let's just say we didn't have to pick up the tab.
I'll go. I'm coming.
Okay. So we know you're busy, right? To get you here, we're so thankful. We really appreciate it. Tell me what county commissioner, what do you do from day, throughout your day on a day-to-day basis?
Oh my, it can be anything from anywhere from potholes to, I'll give you an idea. Today I had a situation where I got a phone call from the folks in the city of Fort Pierce, and they had a very serious situation with a dog breeder. And they were finding that these animals were dying from some kind of a disease. And so the folks were trying to get the attention of the court to go in and at least get to the dogs and make them get them to the doctors and so on. And so I ramped up within 15 minutes of the phone call. I got Emergency Operations Center. I had the health department. I had Tallahassee on the phone. I had the police department. I had the animal control for both the city and the county.
Wow.
So I was able to mobilize all these folks within probably 15 minutes. And so 45 minutes later, they were all meeting in the room. And we actually created a plan as to how to approach this thing. But that's what I do. I create solutions. When the time comes and somebody asks me to get something done, I look at the big picture and I can put it together. And people respect what I do and have understood that I don't just raise a flag just to raise a flag and get attention. I want to fix something. I want to get something done. And these animals were important and they needed to be protected.
God bless you.
So that's
well, if you want to
unfolding
handle
right now.
your job like running a marina, because if you want to run a marina, your whole day is just pissing on fires. This thing's sinking. You got to do this and that. So
Well, that's exactly what I do.
So it's just like you have certain departments, highway, all millions of things, and just.
Well, in my case, it's interesting. My board, who are all Republicans, have chosen me to be the vice chair of the board, the chairman of the Erosion Control District, chairman of the Environmental District, chairman of the Transportation Planning Organization, chairman of the Fire District. So they apparently appreciate the work and the intellect and the knowledge.
Because he's doing the job of three people. It's like, he's a Democrat, but he's doing the job of three people, so,
Well,
and none of us are capable.
You sound more like the moderate and the guy that'll work with both sides of the aisle.
And that's how I've been successful. Give you an idea. There's a fellow out there that says we need lower taxes and better roads. And you've been there too long. You're going to be there 16 years. It takes that long to get things done. For instance, when I came into office, I was the first person to ever run on having the airport be an economic engine. Mm-hmm. It's taken me 16 years to get it ready to be a Part 139 operation without using local taxpayer dollars. Right. We've actually been able to do grants, state and federal monies, to be able to put all those elements in place to actually be prepared for commercial service. And so it's been that long to get things done. The other issue that is actually really important to the taxpayers is inmate medical. When I took office, our inmate medical, we pay actually to take care of the inmates in the jail, and it's required by law. And so it was $2 million a year was what we had to pay, 1,200 inmates at any given time. And so I started seeing these bills go from $2 million to $7 million to $11 million. And, there's HIV meds and AIDS medications are incredibly expensive. And so I was the chairman of the ARTCTC, AIDS Research and Treatment Center of the Treasure Coast. And I knew that Ryan White money was out there to actually get these medications for little pennies on the dollar by comparison in the so-called prescription world. Mm. Well, we were trying to move that forward and lower the cost of medications and maintaining the inmates' medical options.
Well, the medications is a sore point.
It's a point for everybody,
well,
right?
We spend our tax dollars. If you really went down and looked at what we spend on tax dollars that we give to the pharmaceutical companies through the government with grants to come up with these vaccines, and then we have to pay $1,700 for a dose to give somebody a shot. It's like, stop! Yeah. We paid for it, and you're going to bill it for us? It's like such a...
Well, let's back up a little bit, and so not only do we pay for the medications, if they have a toothache or they break an arm, whatever, we have to pay for all that. We had one person who was basically brain dead, sitting in a hospital bed for probably 3 months. And so that bill went from $100,000 to $3 million in 3 months. And so bright idea is like, well, why don't we just put him on ROR, on recognizance, because the person was never going to come out and they're not going to go anywhere, right? And so instead of holding him in the jail, then we can put him back on the street and go home and live out the remainder of his life. But what I'm trying to get to is, the state in 2008 passed a legislation that they would only pay 110% the Medicare rate for all state prisoners. Well, I asked a question. I just got elected in 2008-9, and I'm asking, well, why is it that the state has the ability to reduce the cost of their medical cost of state prisoners at 110%, and we're paying $400? There was one bill that we found, we paid 27,000% higher than the Medicare rate. Here's what people don't understand. When you get arrested, you're not adjudicated. You just get arrested and put in the jail. Well, if you're a veteran, or if you're on Social Security, if you have your own insurance, all that goes away.
You pay. We pay.
You pay as a constituent, as a taxpayer. So, and if they don't get adjudicated, we've paid their medical for whatever period of time they've been in there.
Up north. So all my bones are broken. It's very cold. So up north, you hang out all year, right? Riverhead was the big one. It's like, oh man, it's getting cold out now. Oh, because it's cold.
They all want to go to jail.
So what you do is you go do a crime. You figure out the time and everything. You'll be out by May, June, whatever. You get your teeth done. You eat. You hang out. You work out. It was like, they used to call it home. We're all going home. And we would pay for it. It's just it's tough, man. And we pay for it.
Sure.
We get up and we work and we got to pay
for it. Well, let's get to the important part of this whole conversation.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Is when my opponent keeps saying, you've been there too long. Well, I started this process in 2009-10 to try and get to have the same exact legislation as the state at 110% Medicare rate.
Right.
Well, we have to negotiate with the hospitals. And if they say no, it doesn't matter. We still have to pay. Whatever they give us the bill, we can't negotiate more than what they'll accept. So in 2010, I started the process with trying to lower the cost of AIDS and HIV medicines. I tried to reduce the idea of having a clinic on site at the jail, and then to continue to move to negotiate the prices down. It wasn't happening. Well, I knew that 110% Medicare was sitting there. The state had done it. I had taken it to the legislature multiple times, but I couldn't get anybody to carry it. All right, so you have to have a state, you have to have a representative to carry it, and then you have to have a state representative to co-sign it, so to speak. And so it took from 2010 to 2014. We just got it passed as a local bill. Only county in the whole state that has this. It's St. Lucie County.
Wow.
I assure you, 66 other counties will be coming after that opportunity after we did
precedents.
This. Yes. So we now are going to pay 110% the Medicare
But that's your
rate.
money and time that you put out so these other counties get it easier.
Well, at the end of the day, I don't care how it gets done and who copies.
Yeah.
My job is to be fiscally responsible for the dollars that I'm responsible from taxpayers. And so when someone tells you you've been there too long, it took from 2010 to 2024 to get that done. We had an $11 million inmate medical bill. That bill will be reduced to around $2 million to $3 million. Yeah. So what are we going to do with that extra $10 million that we saved? Put it back in your pocket.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, we lowered the millage rate in St. Lucie County 5 years in a row. We've returned $36 million in taxpayer funds back to the people. Yeah. So I'm doing my job. Oh, yeah, I'm the Democrat. Don't forget. I'm the one that's fiscally responsible, making sure the policy
gets done. I have a personal question. I know you probably want to talk about the Fort Pierce Bridge, but
Well, wait. Before we get to that,
No, I want to talk about my bridge.
Okay, just let me first let me applaud you for doing that.
Thank you.
Good job. And we all know government takes time. The red tape, nothing happens quick. So I agree with you. You got to be there. You got to stay on it. You got to keep going. If you had a term limit of 2 years, what could you do?
Yeah.
You're a figurehead.
Yeah.
You're a smile. That's it.
Just like Congress. You'll be every 2 years. You get elected, and at 12:01 the next day, you're on the phone raising money.
Yeah.
That's all congressmen do.
Yeah.
For 2 years. Every 2 years, they just raise money for the entire period of time.
Yeah.
And fortunately, some congressmen actually get things done because you keep a fire under them. Just like what I told you about the airport. Brian Mast understood what I was trying to do at the airport by creating a cargo port and a commercial airport. So I asked for funding to actually extend a runway to 8,000 feet, to which cargo can now come in and actually create the economic engine that will be able to create manufacturing jobs, intermodal distribution. If you go to Port Pierce and you look at all the big boxes, 1 million square feet of Amazon, pick one of them, Cheney Brothers, 700,000 square feet. We've got to fill those boxes up. So cargo comes in. We have one of the finest roadway systems. You can be in Jacksonville in 4 hours. You can be in Miami in 4.5 hours. You can be in Tampa in 5 hours. And under federal law, you have to be out and back in 8 hours. You can't drive past 8 hours. So where we are located currently, the cargo flies in. The cargo then gets put to the boxes. You create the manufacturing process. Trucks come in. They load it on the truck. They take it to Jacksonville. They drop it off. They come back to the state. They stay overnight. And now you've created a cargo industry that actually creates high-paying jobs. You get those extra the gas tax.
Yep.
Gas tax is important for roadway building and,
Sure.
and redoing them.
Which the EVs are you going to? What are you going to do with registration?
Something has to happen.
How many miles?
Something has to happen.
I can't pay for all the roads.
Exactly.
We got money for speed bumps, but not for the potholes. So let's
And again, even what you're doing there, the legislators are not going to say yes tomorrow.
Exactly.
It takes time. So on a county level, you're on a county level, right? Mm-hmm. But let's talk about
that's the closest to the people. So,
right.
So there were presidents in the past that said the best government is that which is closest to the people.
They also say the county level is the most powerful because
how about that?
well, what I'm trying to say is the guy who's closest to the people, those are the people that are eventually going to vote for the hierarchy, right? So you being on that level, you're closest to the people. They know what's really going on. So we got a huge problem in Florida. You're on a county level, but we got a huge problem in Florida. Insurance.
That's one of my biggest
what
issues.
are we doing?
And going back, here you go. This goes back to my point. It takes time to get things done. If it took me 10 years to change the issue of inmate medical, how long is it going to take me for the state to push the state representatives to get with the federal representatives? FEMA is the stopgap for everything that's an emergency, right?
Right.
A catastrophic something. It's the backdrop. It's a backstop for anybody that's insurance, doesn't have insurance, and so forth. Why don't we create a CAT fund, a catastrophic fund, in which every county of every state pitches in and provides X amount of dollars. There's always extra money.
Like a state insurance fund.
Yes. And then you create the federal component of it as well. Now, it's going to be complicated, but the insurance industry is about making profit. I get that. But if you can create the tort reform that's necessary, there he goes. He's sounding like one of those guys from the other side. But
well, no, every corporation deserves a profit, but
I agree.
300%, just the raping, it's just, and it's the roof thing that kills our insurance. This roof law. What is the deal with the roof law?
We're waiting in 10 minutes. DeSantis is coming in to talk to you. So
okay,
that'd be.
I can give him the answer. Okay. He just needs to ask me.
Yeah.
So let me give you an idea about insurance.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's complaining about the homeowner's insurance.
Right.
Let me tell you about auto insurance. Mm-hmm. My homeowner's insurance, my house is only worth $365,000. My homeowner's insurance is $3,028 a year. My truck, just today, I got my bill. It's $328 a month.
Whoa.
So now I'm paying $3,280 a year for a truck that's worth $18,000.
It's ridiculous.
That's somewhat of a problem.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So there's got to be there's got to be 50 million drivers in the state.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a better way. There's no
But
rational nexus for the increases in auto insurance.
But on a county level, what can you do? How could you start the ball rolling?
Gouging. Companies should only make so much percent.
Right.
It's called gouging.
What can Chris do? What can
and
our
I'm going to
commissioner
share
do?
with you the same message that I did with the inmate medical.
Okay.
I start with talking with who is my next elected representative above me. In this case, it's Dana Travolsi. Dana Travolsi and I, we're actually going to have on the 27th, we're going to have a town hall meeting on homeowners insurance and auto insurance. So there'll be an opportunity to have that conversation. But I'm going to push the issue and say, beyond Dana and Oberdorf and Grawl, those are our representatives for the county. We need to push it to all 67 counties. Florida Association of Counties has to push it. And the National Association of Counties, because if it's happening in Florida, it's happening around the nation. So National Association of Counties, Florida Association of Counties, and each of the other states has their own Association of Counties. Then we talk to the federal government. The federal government has to be a part of that as well. So there has to be a task force from the local level that I'm hearing, because I hear it every day. So a county commissioner, city commissioners, the state representatives, federal representatives, Congress and Senate. The Senate can actually do a lot of things if they have the right direction.
Right.
The challenge is, just like we know, the insurance industry is a heavy donor to any elected representative.
That's who runs the country.
But healthcare shouldn't be making that much money.
No.
Between the insurance companies for healthcare and the hospitals, what are we paying for healthcare? Just like insurance, it's just such a raping. It's just stop.
A Wall Street guy
to make money, but come on, man, people, just stand up.
A Wall Street guy once told me when the banks run out of money, they call the insurance companies. Yeah. So they're that big.
The banks print the money. What do you think the Fed is?
The insurance companies have a ton of money.
Stop.
They're not losing money by any means. So I get it. Also, we've seen, I just bought this house recently, right? I won't even tell you what I paid. Insane money. And probably 5 years ago, it would have been, or even 2-3 years ago, it would have been half of this, right? What do you expect? I mean, you kind of got your eye on the ball here. What do you expect? Do you see a 2008, or do you see housing steady, or what's going to happen in your opinion?
I also dabble in real estate. I'm a real estate agent.
Oh, great.
And so as part of that conversation, I went through the recession, right? My first year, I was on the value adjustment board in my first year. Value adjustment board is basically if somebody owns a house and they come in and the property appraiser appraise their house at X number, they can either say, hey, my value isn't enough, or it's too high. Well, in 2008-9, we were seeing 3,000 to 4,000 foreclosures a month.
Wow.
A month. So St. Lucie County went from a $24 billion valuation of real estate down to 11.
Wow.
In 1 year.
Yeah.
In 1 year. And so the challenge that we see then, it was the fact that they were doing the income verification. There was no income verification for mortgages.
If you were breathing, you got a mortgage.
Back then.
Right.
And some 4 times, 6 times.
Right.
And so the mortgage companies were selling them on Wall Street. So those all failed. So all that money just disappeared.
Yeah.
So that was the interesting part about people say, oh, my taxes are too high. Well, the taxes are high whenever the value is high.
Right.
But when the value is low, so is the tax,
sure.
Right? So the algorithm doesn't work the mathematics don't work well, because when your values are high, you can use the value in it, you can take money out, you can sell it and make a bunch of money, and the value is low, you can't get out of your mortgage. You just walk away from it, which is what people were doing back in 2008-9. Yeah. So here we are today. We're in a situation where a lot of people came to Florida with their cash. They left California, they left New York, they left all the income tax burden behind.
Me?
Come here, you buy a house. Now, the only place that you're being taxed is on your real estate, right? Or gas tax or whatever. But I'm talking about the big numbers. So you're being taxed on your home.
Yeah, but you got to pay everybody's wages. They clean the streets, they do this. Well, but
I'm familiar.
But the more people, it's just, I used to
That's what
plow.
he
I
does.
plowed for the town I plowed for years.
But here's an interesting...
I got, but what I'm saying is, yes, so the bigger the city, it costs more to run. It's
Sure.
just,
That's
a big, it's like a business. It just eats money.
It's true.
It's like,
true.
oh, you want to build a business? Well, my taxes are higher, my insurance.
But let him finish. Here
I'm
comes.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
here
Because
comes
I'm getting to the answer, right?
Right.
So in the state of Florida and likely other states, is your valuation gets evaluated every single year.
Yeah, assessment.
Right. So the property appraiser looks at all of the properties in all of the county, and they determine whether it's going to be 5%, 10%, or go down. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, in the last 3 years, it's gone up from in St. Lucie County alone, 9%, 10%, and now we're about 13% this year. So you're looking at 30% right there in 3 years that the values have gone up. Now, in 2008, the state had kind of backed up on that. They took a draconian measure, and they took 9% off the top. Every single home, every single property in the state of Florida was reduced by 9% valuation. And then you had the recession on top of that. So values went down. So it was a double, triple whammy on local governments not having any money. We took 350 people, put them to the street. We took 21 departments down to 9. We had people in parks and recreation cutting the grass and doing road work. I mean, it was so draconian. But my point is, back then, we had all these non-income valuation mortgages. Today, people came here with cash. So you asked me a question about where do we think we're going to go in the real estate market. I think we're going to be steady. I think you're going to see a slight decline in the valuations because with the interest rates right now at about 7.2, that's a hard nut to crack, so to speak. The valuations are still there. I can tell you my first house in 1979 was $17,000. I was paying 11.9% in interest back then.
Right.
So interest rates are interest rates. If as long as the federal government's still going to let you write off the interest paid, that's helpful. But I don't know where that's going to go. But I can tell you that what we're seeing is there's a very nominal reduction in values, or that which is selling, and they're not selling as fast. So it's kind of balancing out. And what we need to see is a general 2% growth rate. I think is really where we need to be, 3%. But when I told you about how the state came in and did a 9% reduction off the top in 2008-9 because of the recession, they created a homestead exemption. So if you're homestead exempted here, you can only increase your taxes by 3% a year. So if the taxes in St. Lucie County go up 10.3%, you're still only on your valuation, if you're homesteaded, will only go up 3%. So the valuation of the you have your just value and then you have your other value, right? So one gets taxed, the other one just gives you the value of what it's going to be. So let's talk about this. Instead of being reevaluated every year to make it more applicable to everyone's wallet, do it every 5 years.
Right.
So now you have an opportunity. You don't go, just bouncing.
Well, the administrative costs. You got to do an audit every year.
Yeah.
So, somebody has to wait for the money. I understand instead of paying all these people to do an audit every year, every 5 years, if I still get to return the same amount of money, we all win.
Yeah. I came up with a really strange way of looking at it. So, and I used my time of buying Microsoft's stock way back in the 80s. I think it was a penny stock at the time. Right. Anyway, I bought this stock and I don't know what I paid, $5,000, whatever it was. And within 3 years, I had made $20,000 profit. So I sold. I think I'm doing great. Yeah. 10 years after that, it was worth $1.9 million.
Right.
Ain't no sense of being stupid if you can't prove it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
What about the value in your house? So the challenge that we have here is the valuations continue to go up. You can use the money to do whatever you want to do with it, right? But at the end of the day, the taxes go up. Even if we reduce the millage rate, which is what we have done. There's still the cost. You mentioned it earlier. The roads cost money. When I took office, it was $1 million a mile. Now it's $7 million a mile.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
$7 million a mile for a county road.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. So
I'm in the wrong business.
Right. You should road work.
Hey.
But you being a county commissioner.
I should say
I mean, are you going to the legislators? Are you trying to get people's taxes lowered? Are you trying to get this? What are you doing for the people as far as taxes go, too? Well, because I will tell you this, leaving New York, my tax bill there was insane. Mm-hmm. I come here and I think, it's going to be nothing. Well, it's not. It's pretty high.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to the valuation.
Right. So what do you do?
So the big argument is the millage rate is too high in St. Louis. It's the highest in the state. Mm-hmm. It is. It's 22 mills. If you take the city and the county and you add them all together, you have the South Florida Water Management District, you have the Fire District, you have pick any of the
it's expensive.
Mosquito
I live in
control,
Port St. Lucie. It's
erosion control, all those things. So, but the actual value of the homes is really not that high. Martin County actually has the highest valuation and the cost of taxes per capita. Really? Ours is about $721 per capita. The state average is $787. So that'll give you an idea when if you're at home, you want to Google this thing, look up Tax Watch. Tax Watch will break it down from county to cities and so on and so forth, and you'll be able to see that. What I represent is about 33% of all of the taxes that are listed on your trim notice, your taxes. Mm-hmm. So I can't control what Port St. Lucie does. If Port St. Lucie has a 7.25 millage rate and they don't reduce it by a half a mil, I can't do anything about that. Mm-hmm. So I've reduced it a half a mil already, and it could go higher. I could reduce it further. But if all the other taxing agents don't do it, it still shows up under the county tax form. Right. Everyone thinks it's my fault, right? Right. But it's not. And so that's okay. That's why.
So you're not city of Port St. Lucie?
What I'm in charge of is the county in unincorporated county. So our taxes go countywide, 600 square miles. There's
I'm in the city, so okay.
The city you add on. So if you're in Port St. Lucie, you're adding 7.46 mils to already the fire district, the school.
I know it's expensive. That's what I was
so the school's probably your highest section of your millage.
Which I'll pay. My daughter's going to Jensen Beach High School. I love it. It's phenomenal, and she's doing really well. Thank God. So I'm not really complaining too much about the taxes. They're about half of what I was paying in New York, which is enormous. But like I said, the state insurance, they got to do something with that. But,
absolutely. And I told you, that's what we're going to have our first town hall with Representative Trabulsi. And we're going to try to pound this thing out. And what we need to do is push it up the state. Like I said, Florida Association, 67 counties can make a difference at the state level. If you put all the counties, there's 3,800 counties in the nation, 3,800 counties. There's a lot of cities within those counties. Yeah. And if we all go to Washington, D.C., and we start pushing our elected officials up there, now we can we got to have out-of-box thinking. Instead of sitting here and, I was going to use a bad word, complaining.
Oh, we're Nauti Buoys. Go ahead.
It's edited. It's all, you don't have to worry about it.
Instead of bitching and get into your face or
it's cute that you thought bitching was a bad word, but go ahead.
No, it's not a bad word for saying it. It's just like being a little bitch.
No, you're right. You're right. We have to work together, and we have to get it up the scale, and we have to
absolutely
all work together.
There's got to be a bigger picture. We've got to think this thing differently. If you do, everyone knows this one, right? If you do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, it's the definition of insanity.
Well, it's Glenn.
So
we call it Glenn. Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's Glenn.
See?
So
I'm done troubleshooting. Right. You can't be a mechanic if you're going to
be. Just give me the hardest things you have to do. What are you facing right now? The hardest things, the tasks you're facing.
Well, I can tell you that having been battle tested, there's not much that I can't do. Right. Meaning that I can't find solutions to push things a certain way. Yeah. It may take a longer period of time. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, my first budget, when I took office, I actually ran to lower the millage because my house that I built on South Beach in Fort Pierce, I only paid $269,000 for it. Yep. And within 3 years, it was worth $500,000.
I'll take 5 of those right now.
See? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I went from $1,600 a year in taxes to $9,900.
Right.
And nobody can afford that. Right. So that's when everything kind of shifted down. But my goal is always to find what is the best possible outcome for the tax dollars that I'm responsible for. Because if I return to you $6, But I have a roadway that look at US 1.
Oh, God.
It was a nightmare coming down here. There's not much we can do because it's landlocked. There's not much to widen it. If you do flyovers, those are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not an easy answer. Mm-hmm. But the idea is, how do I find ways to create the best possible outcome for the dollars that we do have?
Mm-hmm. So, as far as a punch list, what are you working on now? What's important right now? So we covered the housing, we covered the insurance, we covered some of the other things you're talking about. Give me a punch list. Waterways. What? Give me some of the things you're working on.
Well, I can tell you my what's always at the base of what I do is my environmental responsibility.
Awesome.
I was a dive instructor in the Keys. I own my own dive resort, and actually came up here because the water was going bad in Stewart and in Fort Pierce because of Lake O. And so I came up here to bring them down to Key Largo where the water was clean and so on and so forth. And I started fighting way before 2000, and actually probably 40 years ago is when I started my environmentalist stuff. So that's always a mission that I have. Septic to sewer, it's always a mission that I have.
Yeah.
Stormwater management, always an issue that I fought. Anytime a development comes in, I make sure that they maintain their wetlands and use it part of the stormwater system, so you have a better filtration system and removing contaminants from it. Excuse me. But the bigger picture is, how do I reduce the cost of your residential taxation? Residential taxation in Fort Pierce and in Port St. Lucie has been the driver for all of the county governments, Port St. Lucie, Fort Pierce, and unincorporated county. Mm-hmm. So what do? Rooftops, retirees, and failing citrus and tourism is not an economy. It lasts for 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months there.
Sure.
So my mission was at the time to change the culture of the county from rooftops, citrus, tourism, and retirees to manufacturing, intermodal distribution, and those types of businesses that actually make a product, pay a livable wage, but also creates a profit for the entity that's actually making it, right?
Well, you have 95 in the turnpike, and you're building it there, so you have
Right,
the
create
transportation hub. The trucks just come right in.
Yep.
What you really need to do, because I got my boat down by the Roosevelt Bridge, or whatever, is move that train tracks right up.
Well, that's a whole other story.
So let me ask you this: how do people get involved?
Well, let me kind of
Okay.
go back to
Yeah, go ahead.
because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Is that when I came to office, I saw those problems: rooftops, retirees, failing citrus, and retirees as an economic engine.
Yeah.
The airport, Treasure Coast International, has 4,000 acres. You can put Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach inside the landmass, which is Treasure Coast International. But it wasn't being utilized very well. They have a lot of land, but nothing is being produced there. And aviation is a viable opportunity. But because of the landmass, if you create the economic engine inside that 4,000 acres, if you have a boat manufacturing inside there, if you have a customs warehouse in there, you have an import-export opportunity, you have passenger service, you bring in the cargo, now you have diversified that entire economic engine, which is 4,000 acres. Mm-hmm. You have the roadway systems in which to do that. When I took office, the average wage was $26,000. Today, it's approaching $60,000. And that's just in 15 short years. And so you have to have a plan. You have to implement the plan. But more importantly, you have to get the people that you're working with to accept what you're trying to tell them. And you need 3 votes in my case.
Right.
So unless you can tell the story, unless you can get people to cooperate with you, which I've been able to do over 6 iterations of the Board of County Commissioners, as well as 3 iterations of the Port St. Lucie Council, and Fort Pierce's, I think, 4 different iterations. So my ability to work across party lines and to be able to create an opportunity for people to come together has been the success. I call it building a legacy of success. And that's how you do it.
Yeah. You know, I'm very impressed with your ability to cross party lines, this moderate attitude. It sounds great to me. Again, I'm not a big fan of the 2-party system. Sure. I think, everybody should work together. And also your experience, right? So I'm sitting here saying to myself, well, here's a guy who's been in it this long. Why would you get rid of him? I mean, you're a guy that I want in there. You're a guy who has the experience. You're a guy who, you're talking numbers, you're talking projects, if you get a guy in there right now it's going to take him 10 years to catch up.
Yeah, there's an interesting. When you first get elected, they send you to commissioner school. And the University of Florida puts it on. And when I took office, I had already had a political science degree. I already had a business degree. And so when I went there, I honed my skills and worked within the state's version of the county commission education. So I actually went from commissioner to advanced commissioner in 4 months.
Wow!
It usually takes a year for most. But I was focused on getting that done. If more elected officials actually invested the time in learning the education of what it is they're doing, not just having an opinion, sit back and say, oh, you're doing it wrong, or you've been there too long, or better roads, lower taxes. I've done 75 miles of new roads and fixing the roads. I've lowered the taxes $36 million in 5 years. I've done what you want to do, the guy that wants to replace me. Right. Okay, but how do you respond and work with the people within the organizations that you have to get their support? Yeah. If they don't like you.
Yeah.
It's like building a house. Oh, the electrician don't like you, or the plumber. You got all these people that have, it's like, oh, I need this road. Oh, you want it? Well, we didn't get this contract. It's just all
right. So, how do people get involved? How, regular citizen, one of your constituents, he wants to get involved. Is there a program you have?
I can tell you we have several ways. Well, first is show up at a city or a county meeting.
Okay.
They're all open to the public. All public hearings are all available. If you have an opinion, review whatever it is you think you have an opinion about. Learn about it. Because you can have an opinion and then show up at a meeting and say, I don't like that because it's purple. And if you turned it green, then it would be better. Okay. Well, there's a better way of doing it. Let's find out more about it. It was a bad example, but anyway.
No, it's a good example. Because people sometimes have blinders on and they're one way. I have friends that watch one channel news and the other channel news. You can't believe the difference in the middle.
Yeah. How many residents does Port St. Lucie have?
Port St. Lucie now is at, I'm going to say 240,000.
Okay, so he has 240,000 opinions that he has to deal with.
Plus four
I have 350,000.
350.
I'm lucky I can get the BJ's back without a disaster.
Wait, are you married?
No, there's a reason.
Okay, he's not married, so
he has money.
He's got money
because I'm a politician.
But Glenn, he's not married, so. I'll take the 350,000 over the one, right? Okay, we're gonna take some phone calls. I see the lines are starting to light up. I've been hitting the button off, so we're gonna take some phone calls, get some questions in, and again, if you can be in the middle, and we can stop this. He's right, I'm right. He's left, I'm right. If we can stop all that. It's a better place for everybody.
It's not supposed to be left or right. It's supposed to be for the people.
Yeah.
Not for the generation.
And again, that just goes back to my point. I've worked with the city of Port St. Lucie, largely been Republican. The city of Fort Pierce, it's been both the majority of Republican, and then the other two were Democrats.
Okay.
St. Lucie County was...
We were supposed to talk about the Roosevelt Bridge. God damn it.
Let me take this. Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Hey, Greg, this is Guy. I'm a broker. I have a question about Century fishing boats. Just want to get your thoughts on them.
Oh, okay. Century. It's odd you bring that up. So Century boats, for the people who don't know out there, they're the oldest boat building company in America. Wow, I've surveyed a lot of Century boats. Okay, so what's my opinion about them? Guy, I'll tell you this. They make a good boat. Very sturdy boat. I would consider them above mid-tier boat. And they make a lot of models. They have a model for just about everybody's needs. And I think they're a great company. The problem with Century boats, and the only problem I really see is they have no marketing. They never market these boats. I don't know why. But when you open a magazine, you always see the boats, you see Contender, you see Regulator, you see, all these boats, but you never see Century. So for my listeners out there, this survey question's a good one because, listen, I don't know anybody at Century Boats. I don't own a Century boat. I don't really have any opinion other than having surveyed them. And I think anybody looking for a decent boat at a good price and, something that'll stay together, really consider Century. It's just their marketing. They just, Boston Whale is on every cover of every magazine. Century, they just don't market. So, but they're a good boat. I think they're a good boat. Did that answer your question?
You're probably saving on the pricing if they don't have a big advertising budget.
Well, yeah, I think you're right about that, but nobody knows about them. So, you go to a boat show and you see all the glitz and glamour of every booth, Boston Whaler and Regulator and this one and that one. And, the Century guy is sitting there going, yeah, nobody advertised for us. So there's no traffic. But they're good boats. They're put together well.
Well, the dealers have to do their own advertising then, basically.
Exactly. Yes.
To promote them, so it's all on them.
Yes, and that's a tough task.
Yeah.
So, all right.
When did they start building boats?
Dude, they were the first real boat building company in America. They were in the early 1900s, and
right.
Look it up. There's a whole big article about them, but they're really good. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Your help.
Thanks for your call.
It's interesting to bring up Century Boats, but I can tell you that St. Lucie County is now the manufacturing of boats in the entire state. With
Yes.
Maverick and Pursuit and
Yes.
Twin V and Twin V Evie. And we have Contender here too. So, all of those things are there.
Yeah. It's, since I've been down here, I'm visiting the factories. I could run out of days.
Fort Pierce just had another factory.
Yeah. Well, Contender just built a factory.
This is why I'm trying to tell you, but the manufacturing changing and looking at the economic dynamic that the county is, you support those things. So those jobs, manufacturing jobs are here. They start selling them. And so that's part of the bigger economic picture, which is what I'm trying to get across today.
All right, let's get another call. Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with and who's your question for?
Hey, my name's Rob. Big fan of the show. Love what you guys are doing so far.
Thank you, Rob.
My question is for Commissioner Dzadovsky there. I wonder if we could find out a little bit more about what Harbor Point Park is going to be. I hear there's going to be a boat ramp there. And also over on Museum Park, over on the other side of the causeway, and those docks. What's the plan with those?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because that's something I've been working on for about 10 years. So let's start with the thing that's incredibly important for the larger audience, and that is in St. Lucie County, we are really short boat ramps. And so St. Lucie County bought over 25 years ago Harbor Point. The citizens wanted to make sure that property was available for the citizens in the future. So it had to have a public use. So the citizens put a millage rate aside and put up $20 million over 20 years, and they bought the Harbor Point property. So that is up there by Taylor Creek across from Harbortown. And so as part of that, we are moving forward with negotiating with the Bell sisters who own the larger 67 acres of green space. So we are working with Harbortown Marina, Cracker Boy, the county, any of the entities that are on Taylor Creek to create a municipal services boundary unit to be able to dredge Taylor Creek so that bigger boats can get in there. They can do the fueling. We can get the boats out. But as importantly, we want to put 4 boat ramps right there on Taylor Creek at Harbor Point.
Brilliant.
And create 180 space trailer and truck parking lot. So
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but we have the property. And so we've just invested $4 million to actually create the drainage system that will be on the other side of US 1. We're going to engineer a cistern type system where we pump it onto the other side into a stormwater treatment area. And we're going to manage that stormwater so as to not have the most expensive stormwater lake on one of the most expensive properties in all of the county. So that's a big focus. There's a couple of folks that have been interested in developing Harbor Point, whether it be in the boating industry, whether it be restaurants, whether it be educational components along the waterway. We also have our artificial reef program that's there. We manage, and I'm the chairman of the erosion control district. So as part of Harbor Point, we're going to put a docking system, if you will, a import-export type facility, so that the vessels can come in, bring the sand, take it out, and work from that standpoint with the barges. So that's underway. We're having engineering, and we're changing the roadway structure inside Harbor Point as well, so that the road will come off Indian River Drive and 2nd Street all the way back toward Cracker Boy and get to Harbor Point. So we're going to change that dynamic.
Very good.
And you're talking about the Museum Point Park. We have an old dock there that really needs to be reviewed. We're actually in the process of looking at it. It needs to come down. And so as part of that, because we have Director Ford Pierce in town, I think it's important for us to take a look at how can we benefit that local business. And so if we're going to recreate that dock, let's build it to a level in which we can actually utilize it to put mega yachts on it.
Oh.
We don't have a space except for in the yard for boats that are 200, 300 foot long. So the idea is, let's take a look at the engineering. Can we do it on that section of Harbor Point Park? It's in the turning basin, right on the edge of the turning basin. So there's an opportunity for the depth to be there. It's just going to need to be the strength of that particular dock, how it's engineered. The other side of that is when you have a beautiful 300-foot vessel that is worth $1 billion, and having it in the front room of your community, you get a little attention.
Yeah, that's a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a shout out to Director Fort Pierce. They have been a great community partner since they got here.
Yeah.
I know that they're going to do some kind of you can build a boat and then you see if it floats, and I can't remember the name of what it's called. And they actually sponsor too the Marine Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup.
Oh wow,
that's coming up right this week actually. You can do virtual cleanups, and then you can send your information into the Marine Industries Association and be able to have an opportunity to see what that's about. The Marine Industries Association actually endorsed me too, by the way.
Yeah, Tom's a great guy.
Let me see if I can fit that in there.
Yeah, Tom just stepped down, right? Dan's the new yeah, so good people, really good people. And director, I mean, class act. So
Yeah.
Okay, did he answer your question?
He sure did. I don't care about the politics. You're a hardworking man, and we appreciate that all you do work for. Thank you very much.
Great, Rob.
Thank you, sir.
Great. All right, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, yeah. He's right. You got to put the politics aside, and you got to get the work done. The people that get it done, that's the people that I'm all for. And you're very knowledgeable. The more I talk to you, the more I go, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So let's get this call. Maybe they have something else to ask you. Let's see. Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Ahoy, Captain Greg and Captain Glenn. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
This is Al from Oakdale, New York. Last fall, during my winterization, my boat guy recommended that the following year I replace the VST filter in my my Yamaha 150. It's only got 175 hours on it, and it's a 2016. And after he had said that, I did some research, figuring this is something I could probably do myself. But it looks like it's a little labor intensive, and I was wondering how important it is to replace that that filter.
I think Yamaha says like 500 hours or 5 years, but if you're up north, it really depends on how you winterize it, because it's an aluminum tank. So if you got to lower to E15, it's going to eat that thing up, and it's going to clog the filter. But if it's winterized properly and you have good gas, you could go 10 years. But then, because when I used to service them, it's such a big project to pull the VST tank off, to pull the intake manifold. You do a whole fuel thing. You pull the VST tank off, you pull the injectors out, because they need to be checked and cleaned, and they spray them and check them. And then, take it from there. But it all comes down to proper winterization and bad gases, how much time you can get out of your VST.
So you recommend he do them?
He doesn't have to yet. It just depends. If everything's been good and you got good gas in here and there, around 10 years, you decide to just pull it all out. It's an expense, but you pull the injectors out, just do the whole fuel system. I've been drinking, so make sure you check everything that I've said.
So the bottom line is ethanol is the problem here. I guess if we had ethanol-free gas up in New York, it would be a different story.
Yeah.
Well, the marinas the problem is what happens up in New York is the marinas check it for E10, but most of your gas stations have E15, so people go to the gas station, fill their 5-gallon jug, and they're putting E15 in, which eats up your gas tank and just everything else. God bless America.
Right. All right. So then the bottom line is I probably can hold off for another 2 or 3 years, I would think, from what I heard.
Right, and the first sign will be, the problem is then it's in the summertime, the first sign is she'll be bogging at high speed. She'll be starving for fuel. As long as you have a spin-on, obviously, I would think, right? And then there's another filter in the front. So you do have 2 filters before the VST tank. So it's basically bad fuel management, which causes the VST filter to clog.
Right, and from what I looked up, it's pretty much you have to take off the rear of the engine to get to this filter, correct?
And it's a lot of, it's not something you do by yourself. You find a top-rated Yamaha tech to do such a procedure.
Right.
And they'll make sure your thermostat housing's not rotted out. Check your oil pan, if you're doing it yourself. But yes, you would
While you're in there, check it all.
check it all.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're probably looking at what, maybe 2 hours labor for something like that?
No.
No?
That's why you put it on. It's a lot of money, but it's a big investment. A new outboard's $20,000, so find the right guy and have him do the right service.
Right.
And
right.
then
Okay,
call me back if you have another question.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thanks.
Thank
Hey,
you, my
thanks.
friend.
Keep listening to the show.
I want to know where he's getting his outboard for $20,000.
Yeah.
I don't
must
even know
know
what is a new
Oh,
150.
must know
30
people.
grand.
Oh, yeah.
30, 40 grand.
Not a 150. He said it was a 150.
Who knows? Who knows? But we got another call coming in. Let's take this, and then we'll get to our other part of the show. Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
I guess the question is for Commissioner Dzadovsky,
Sure.
and has to do with waterway cleanup.
Yeah.
Do you have to have a boat to participate?
Absolutely not. I can tell you that I have done several attempts at the waterway cleanup where I've gone along Taylor Creek. I just talked about that, and I found Wilson. But I was on the. I swear to God, I have a picture of this volleyball, and I'm holding the Wilson up. I took a picture, put it on Facebook, and they're like, "Oh my God, you found Wilson!" But I was just on the shore edge, and actually, really, that's where a lot of the trash is.
Always.
I mean, it's amazing what gets collected up in there. But if you're going into the mangroves, you got to be really careful. You got to be very careful. But no, you don't need a boat to participate. And I will tell you that there are some really great people that actually put this thing on, and they should be commended. And I think I'm saying, where are we? 27 years. The caller, do you know where we're at on a number of years we've been doing it?
Myself, it's been several years, but I take the kids out, and I've done it by boat, but I didn't know if it was a requirement.
No requirement, and actually you can do virtual this year. Basically, you can go out during the week, take some pictures, record the amount of trash that you've collected, kind of weigh it, send that in, and it actually gets calculated with entire. Yeah, I think I've been a part of several where in the 3,000, 4,000 pound range of cleanup. There are others that have been even much greater.
Yeah.
I remember there was I was on South Beach in Fort Pierce, and there was a floating dock. It was a jet ski dock, and I dragged that thing from the beach all the way to the parking lot. Got it on my boat, on the back of my truck, and I'll tell you what, it was one of the biggest things that I ever pulled in there. But yeah,
Okay, so bring the kids with me.
Absolutely, bring the kids. Make sure you have sunscreen, lots of water. Bring gloves. If you have pickers, that's a lot easier than bending down, and bring some buckets and some big black garbage bags.
Cool. All right. Did that answer your question?
Sure does.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks
you.
for the call. Listen, if you could like, subscribe, and listen to our show.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just tell the listeners before we get going, how do they even get involved? Who do they call? Where do they go?
Oh, yeah. Well, Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup.
Okay.
You can look it up online.
Yep.
There's a registration form there. They have it on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. And really, you can just reach out and do it that way and get started.
Okay.
I would get started today because we're trying to make sure that we have enough people, volunteers, to actually set up and help get you to where you need to be, whether it's buckets, bags, etc., gloves, and so on. So,
Okay. And just not to scare people, but what you said, the mangroves, be careful. Why?
well, because they're the entanglements, you can twist an ankle, but they're protected, right? So you don't want to drive your boats into the mangroves. You want to get close. Picking up a piece of trash and hurting a mangrove is worse.
So you're not talking about like snakes, alligators, you know.
Oh, they're in there, but I don't know.
He doesn't care about
I'm
that.
not worried
What about
about that.
tigers and bears?
Tangled. Wait, I care more about getting tangled than eaten. So you got to remember, we're from New York, right? So we're used to like muggers and hookers and thieves. I came down here. It's literally bobcats, panthers, coyotes, snakes, gators.
No, I live in the city of Port Lake, so I got none of that.
well,
It's just concrete.
I'm on
jungle.
my
I'm
backyard's a preserve.
Yeah.
Any night I could just spin around in my jail, look outside, and go, "Oh my God, what is that?"
Yeah.
So, one night, very quickly, I was up very, very late, and I spinned around the chair, saw a bear right in the backyard.
Wow, how about that? Yeah.
So
Was it Yogi?
it was Yogi.
Not smoking.
No, and he had boo boo too. So
Was Yogi there?
we are running out of time. Micah is looking at me. Yeah, he's shaking his head.
If I could.
We're good. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, just simply, you
Go
had asked.
ahead.
You had
'Cause
asked.
I was going to say, do you have anything to add?
Oh.
But you couldn't wait, could you?
No.
You're such a politician.
I'm a politician.
You're a politician.
And I'm the worst at my board. So,
And I actually like you. So go ahead.
so you asked me several times, how do you get involved?
Right.
Well, the county actually has a Citizens Academy. The Citizen Academy, you can sign up. It's a 6-week program. You get to go to the landfill. You get to go to the jail. You get to go to the airport. You get to go to the port. You get to look at the administration. You get to go in OMB, the Operations Management and Budget, to see where the money is and how that unfolds. You get to go to the tax collector. You get to go to the property appraiser. You get to go to the sheriff's office. All of those opportunities, this is what you pay for as a taxpayer. Learning about it over 6 weeks gives you, an hour or two a week. And you actually come out of this thing knowing so much more about county government. And all the questions and all the complaints that you had before, you go, let me rethink
Change
that a
my
little
opinion,
bit because now I know where my money's going,
Right.
and it's not just someone complaining on Facebook in their underwear and drinking a beer at 6 a.m.
Right.
Well, maybe some people.
Well, Glenn, yeah.
Not 6 in the morning.
He's in his underwear drinking a beer, but it's not 6 in the
No,
morning.
it's not. No. Once the sun starts to set down and it's making that little line, it's
All right, so we're getting to the end of our show. I always have a good tip. We have tips. So I'll start with mine, Glenn. Oh, God, he's looking at
I got to
tips.
think of one.
All right, you think while I say mine. So when I was in New York, I did work for Governor Cuomo.
Okay.
Met the guy. I got to tell you, liked the guy a lot. Real gentleman. Very good guy. Now, whether you agree with his politics or don't agree with his politics, that's something that, right. So, my opinion is you got to put the politics aside. People have to start working together. You got to get involved. There are always those Monday morning armchair quarterbacks that they know everything. Well, guess what? If you get involved, like you said, and you start to learn the inner workings and you learn the limitations, like you have limitations, right? You can't do everything, Commissioner.
There's a lot of laws that I have to follow.
Right. So once you learn the inner workings, then you can kind of respect the person, the politician. And let's remember this. We're all human, right? You're human. I'm human.
He just looked at Glenn.
Glenn. But
Blah, 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 blah.
Hey, man, let's kind of give everybody a break. Let's not be so hard on each other, and let's work together. And my tip is, stay in the middle, man. Stay in the middle lane, and let's just get things done. That's my tip. Glenn, I'm afraid of yours. So, you know what? Wait, you think. Commissioner,
get involved. You've been saying get involved all day. James Brown actually had a very good song in his good years, Get Involved.
Yeah, okay.
So you could listen to that. And then
your tip is to listen to James Brown.
Yeah, if you want some soul.
Okay. You don't have a mental institution in Port St. Lucie.
We certainly have the New Horizons. We have
you do?
opportunities for.
Okay. Do you have a application for Glenn?
We have this thing called Baker Act. The sheriff works with us on that one.
So we can commit him right now. What's your tip?
My tip is don't play the ponies. No,
Yeah.
I just watched the Belmont on the weekend. I was like, dag on it.
Yeah.
9-1. 9-1 he won. But anyway, my tip is, if you're looking at candidates to support, look at them. Don't just look at your R and your D and your I or the Green Party or pick one. At the end of the day, if you don't know who you're voting for, you're just voting for red, blue, whatever, or R or D. Yeah. You may make a mistake. Maybe make a mistake. Yeah. And I share with everybody, if you're a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat, I'm the guy you want to vote for, because I invest myself in this thing because I'm doing what I want to do for the people of the community, knowing that I can make a difference. And the fact that we took Port St. Lucie, St. Lucie County, Fort Pierce, and we turned around the economics of this community from being 4,000 foreclosures a month to having now a $50 billion revenue stream that is the valuation of properties in this community. We've increased the wage from 26,000 to approaching 60,000. We have a roadway system now is very great for bringing the manufacturing intermodal distribution. Take a moment and think about what the economics of this community can be if we bring in cargo, bring in passenger service, bring in the manufacturing. I talked about the boat industry. We now are the epicenter of boat building in the state of Florida.
Yeah, we are.
And all those spin-off businesses that are coming.
Yep. It's all
you get mega yachts here now, right? So you go from contender to mega yachts, or you go from twin V to mega yachts. Yeah. Scott Deal, who used to own Maverick Boats, he used to call it the blue economy. Right. He can't sell a boat if the Indian River Lagoon is trashed. Right. And so when I say I work on the environment of cleaning up the Indian River Lagoon, our waterways, that's part of the blue economy. Yep. And if Scott Deal and Maverick Boats can't sell a boat because the water's crap, well, guess what? That business goes away. All the people that are working there go away. So my job is to protect the waterways. My job is to make sure we have clean water and protect our environment, protect our wetlands, protect our mangroves, and waterway cleanup. Get the trash out of it.
Longest tip we've ever had on a show, but probably the best one. Good job. How do people get in touch with you?
You can call my office at 772-462-1410. That's my office, and that's for the county office. I also have a website section there. You can actually email me there. If you were talking about what am I doing for this election, chrisforcommissioner.com is my website. And I also have a political page on Facebook. And there's an opportunity to send me questions and so on and so forth. chrisforcommissioner.com is a little faster than Facebook. There's a couple layers I have to go through from the political page. Okay. But that's an opportunity. And then my personal cell is 772-834-8539, chrisforcommissioner.com.
Awesome. And don't abuse his cell phone, people. Just, this is real. Anyway, so I'd like to thank Commissioner Chris Dzadovsky, County Commissioner for St. Lucie District 1, right?
District 1.
Okay.
And we're elected countywide, so everybody gets to vote.
Awesome. So
when is November, right?
November, yes.
All right, so people get out there and vote. My vote would go to Chris.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chris. So, he's been a great guest, a great guy, and I like to see that, he's got that middle attitude, and that's what we need. So, Glenn, you got to have a tip.
Seems like the man that wants do the job.
All right. So Glenn's tip is vote for Chris too.
Hey,
So
I like
that's
it.
good.
Not like the DEI.
Okay.
Well, wait a second. Are these tips taxable?
No, we changed that one.
As long I haven't seen payment yet.
All right, we gotta go, guys. We only have a time limit here, so let me just say this. I'd like to thank our producer Micah Murley, our production assistant Samantha. Please hit that like, subscribe, and follow button, and please tune in next Thursday and every Thursday for the Naughty Boys Boat Show. Every week we will have exciting guests, informative news. May you have fair winds, following seas, and tight lines. God bless you, everybody.